TV. Well, the Jomsvikings are sort of mythical in that aspect. That they probably did exist, but how important and prominent they were is hard to tell. But there are mentions of them in several different places, and they do have their own saga. So I think the story of the Jomsviking, or the saga of the Jomsviking, is very interesting, and it's a fascinating book, and I thought it was a great story to use as the backdrop for like the concept story that I wrote from the beginning. So the story itself is about a man who is in love with a young girl, or a young man who's in love with a girl, but she's being married off, and he tries to run away with her. But they're caught in the act kind of doing that, and by a guard, and there's this big fight, and he kills this guard. So he has to run away. His father disowns him. He becomes an outlaw, and he flees. And as he escapes, he comes in touch with the Jomsvikings, and he joins their crew basically. So he becomes a Jomsviking. And through the Jomsviking, he gets an opportunity to go back and claim revenge, and in his point of view, hopefully win back his lady. So that's kind of the story. But I use the Jomsviking saga as kind of the way for him to come back. Well, the Jomsvikings were an elite force of Viking mercenaries, sort of the French Foreign Legion of their day, in a way. I mean, anybody could join as long as you lived by their codex, and you had to be a certain age. You couldn't be too young or too old. So it was, they were tough cookies.
You had to prove that you're good in battle.
Yeah, exactly. You have to prove that you're good in battle. They had certain rules that you had to abide by. One of the rules is you don't back down before the person next to you backs down, basically. So you jump back down, there is a book about it called the Jomsviking Saga. So that's like the main research I did. But I read a bunch of other stuff as well, and a bunch of stuff I already knew. I mean, I've had this interest now for 30 odd years, so some stuff stuck in there, I guess. Don't really need to look it up. It's very, it's a difficult journey for him to start with. I mean, he's on his own, it's winter time. He knows he has to go south, but he knows also that he's being hunted. So and there's no help for him anywhere really. I mean, anywhere where he seeks help, he will not be safe. So he has to kind of stay out of sight. But then he finds a drifter, a kind of an old man that helps him, and finally he escapes. That old man has a very important part in the story, because when he meets this old man, he's real and all, but after a while you start to wonder is this guy just in his imagination, or does it really exist? Kind of, So further on, he comes back in the story. Further on, not to give it too much away, but he doesn't come back on the album anyway, so I guess I can say it. But later on, he comes back to him in a vision, and it turns out that the old man is Odin, and he helped him for a reason, but he didn't follow that reason. He followed his own heart, and that will, kind of lead him towards his doom. that's I mean that's it's a common thing these days. All bands have that, right? People who like really hate bands for some reason, you know. Personally, I couldn't give a fucking rat's ass what people write about us. If they don't like us, I don't care, you know. Those are not the people I care about. I care about the people who are our fans. But it's sort of a comment on that phenomenon where people hide behind their keyboards and they write like overly aggressive things, whether it's about, you know, bands or other people. You know, there's an aggressive tone in social media these days. There is just ridiculous. People that would never ever speak like that to a person face to face. Mm-hmm. But because there is a computer screen between them and a keyboard, they feel like no, but they feel they can say anything, and it's just dumb, you know. People somehow don't understand how to behave. But so it's sort of a comment on that, but it's also just meant to be like a fun thing, you know. And I think I have to check out. Do you remember his name? The guy who plays the.
No, I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I think. Anyways, the guy who plays the keyboard warrior and also Josh Barnett who plays the role of Thor in the movie. They do it so well, and I mean, obviously Josh is a UFC fighter, so you know he has the pondus.
Yeah, he fit the part.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna be both drumming and vocals on this next tour. But actually, yeah, we hired one guy, Tobias Gustafsson, ex-Vomitory, who is a close friend to the band. We hired him to do the drumming for the album, and he was also a really good creative input for writing the album. And now we're trying out some new drummers for the tour that's gonna come up. But of course the main goal is to find the guy who's gonna be a permanent member, but that's gonna take some time to see if he fits in the band, you know.
So the guy from Vomitory?
He's not gonna be on the tours.
Okay. And you must have ideas now for the new drummer?
Yeah, we have a guy.
Will he be Swedish?
There's a guy from Sweden who we've tried out recently, and that looks to be a good fit for the band. So he's going to be doing some tours and festivals with us this spring and summer, and then we'll see. We'll take it from there. I think it's important for us that I mean, not only to find a drummer who can actually play the parts that we like, the old stuff and the new stuff, but that also fits in the group, you know. Because I mean, we literally live on top of each other for 8 months of a year, and it's important that everybody gets along, and that we can, you know. But it's also important that we have permanent members, because I believe for us it's always important to be like a full band, you know. So yeah. Oh, coffee. I mean,
no, we can't release the name because, of course, like we said, we have to let him grow into the band before we decide if he's gonna be a permanent member.
I mean, we're definitely gonna announce it sooner or later. But it's just a matter of making sure that he's up for it, and that we really want to do that before we announce it. But it's going to be announced soon, though. So. For this album, Metal Blade made a deal with Sony to work with them here in Europe for their bigger releases. And I think it's a brilliant move by Metal Blade, and it seems like Sony's really happy about this as well, because I think for bands, I mean, not to be very presumptuous here, but we are one of the biggest bands on Metal Blade, and it's a good way to back the bigger acts on the label to work closely together with Sony. And so far, Sony has done an exceptional job, I think. So we're really happy about that, and we're really happy that Metal Blade wanted to go this way for us. So, and I think there are more Metal Blade Sony releases to be in the future. We just happen to be the first ones out.
In backstage studios in England with Andy Sneap, just as the last album before this.
Yeah.
I think some has to do with the fact that we had a new drummer. That of course changes the sound quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because I think Andy has a better knowledge of the band now, so he knows more what we were after on this album. Because this has a more like epic story, needs to have a different sound.
And I think you're really onto something there. Also with the new drummer, with Tobias drumming, his style is so different from Fredrik's, and I think it gives the whole production. Somebody said it gives the production more air. Like there's more space for everything to grow in the production with his style of drumming, and I think that's spot on in a way. So there's so many little details really that kind of makes everything sound different, but it's not really such a big difference as you might think.
Six weeks.
Only losers spend more than 2 months in the studio. All other bands go like, what the hell just happened? Somebody bitch slapped me.
I think 6 weeks, for us 6 weeks in the studio, I don't think many bands these days spend that much time in the studio.
No. It depends on what band you are, I guess, but I think today, these days as well, I mean, studio time is expensive, and we try to be well prepared and go into the studio and have most of the stuff nailed down, so we don't have to worry about writing too much stuff, or we can just go in and focus on recording what we have and maybe make minor changes really. So it's not, it does, and it's not like we like hanging out in the studio all the time either. So it's you don't want to be there too long. I mean, certain bands, they like to change around, and I think, I mean, In Flames, if they change around, sure, but I'm sure that they do it because they believe. I mean, they wouldn't do it if they didn't believe in, For us, we know what we want, and I think we all are pretty much on the same page musically, and so it's easy for us to continue that and try to evolve what we like and what we want to do, which has always kind of been the same thing. But since we have the passion for the music, it's also important for us to come up with new angles and new twists to the music, so that we can be fresh from album to album as well, but still recognizable. Because when you look at it, the bands that you love the most, the bands you really love the most, are always the bands that never really change their concept too much. Like Iron Maiden, AC/DC,
Yeah, exactly. It's two ways about it. Some bands, they change the style to gain success. But for us, it's more like we're gonna stay consistent to gain success.
Yeah.
Yes.
If someone would say that to me, that would be like the best compliment I could get probably.
So you are.
Yeah. We're gonna kick off with a US tour in April, May, and then we have the festivals in Europe in the summer.